Good evening and welcome to the December 12th, 2021 regular board meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Nona Kirk? Yes. Milburn Dolan?
Yes.
Okay, we now have the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag. It'll be led by Military Heights, Miss Rowe. You can choose after. Yeah. Any school pledge or anything? No. Okay, we can go to introductions.
If they want to come by, we'll give them a fist bump.
Yes, I wanted them to announce their names
Okay.
to you first. So my name's Tammy Rowe, and I'm the sponsor of the Military Heights Student Council. We have a great group this year. As you can tell, they're very eager to be here. We also have Miss Adams here with us, our principal. We have Darcy Rowe, our librarian and also a sponsor, and we have Andrea Udi, that is also first grade teacher and a sponsor. We have some not with us tonight, but I want each one of them to introduce themselves because they're so excited to be here. So we're going to start with our president.
Anne-Marie. Camry.
I am Caleb McIntyre. I am in 5th grade and I'm public relations for Military Heights.
Hi, I'm Abigail Witherspoon, and I'm a 5th grader at Military Heights Elementary School, also a part of Student Council. My name is Andrew.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you. Good job.
Hello, my name is Carly Browse, and I'm a 5th grader at Military Heights, and I'm vice president.
Oh, nice.
I'm Juliana Bettis, and I like to sing.
Good job. You like to sing.
Good job.
Good job. Good job.
Good job.
My name's Allison Christian-Zatter.
My name is Lynette Rodriguez.
Good job, Lynette. Good job.
I'm Evangeline.
Good job.
Okay, and I like to art.
Good job.
Like to draw. I am Graciela Marquez, and I'm the current public relations at Military Heights.
Good job. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Madison.
Good job.
My name is Kayla, and I am secretary at Military Heights.
Thank you.
My name is Mario Montoya, and I'm a student at Military Heights. I'm in 4th grade and a part of Student Council.
Nice mask.
Hello, I am Xavier Travis, and I
Good job.
am glad to be here.
My name is Max.
Good job. Thank you.
I am Jonathan Ramirez, and I'm in 4th grade and also a part of Student Council. I'm Gianna.
My name is Kyron, and I'm in 3rd grade, and I'm also a part of Student Council.
My name is Abigail Varela.
My name is Quinn Booth, and I am in 3rd grade.
Good job. Good job.
Good job. Good job, thank you.
Thank you guys for letting us come tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate that. Yeah, I've been going to physical therapy.
Mine's starting to hurt again. I don't know why.
Alrighty, are there any modifications to the agenda?
Madam President, there are no modifications to the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Kirk and a second by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, we have our recognition tonight. Mr. Roy?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, we have up first tonight Coach Britt Cooper, and he is going to honor members of the Goddard High School football team for their act of heroism. So, Mr. Cooper?
A little.
Yes, on their way to Artesia for a district football game, they came upon an accident. Most of us know this story. And they got out and gave aid and help and turned the car back up and helped the people out. So, I mean, that hit social media. It was on, just about everywhere. And, for something like that to happen, it puts in perspective what sports are all about. It's about teaching life lessons. And these young men and the coaching staff made, RISD and the state of New Mexico look very good, and we're very proud of them. And we're here to honor them tonight.
Awesome.
Goddard, come on up.
Where are they?
Come on up, coach
Come on
and
up.
players.
You.
You can
want
start
you
off
to-
by introducing yourself, and if anybody wants to start in your 5-minute speech.
I'm Hunter Bean. I'm a coach here. I coach the freshmen.
Hunter Bean.
Hunter.
I'm Colton Franzoy, I'm a player.
I'm Landon Victor, and I'm a player too. My name is Brandon Robinson. I'm playing on the football team as well.
What positions do y'all play?
Outside linebacker.
Left guard and D tackle, running back and linebacker.
Awesome.
And so Golden Corral helped us thank and acknowledge the team, and I'm sure you thought about it after you saw how much these boys could eat.
I think it was a well investment and some great heroism and just caring about other man and caring about the fellow man. So I appreciate you all for what you did. If I didn't get by your table to tell you thank you, but appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Coach Bean?
Coach Bean.
Coach Bean. Coach Bean. How do you use my voice there? There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, is that Billy Bean's son?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so,
Billy
yes.
Bean's
That's
son.
Maria's son.
All right. Up next tonight, reluctantly, I was able to actually get this on the agenda. Pardon me. The New Mexico School Boards Association Board recognition happened last weekend, and we had 3 of our members receive some awards, and I felt like we needed to get this on here so that because of the time that goes into this and the amount of work, I wanted to publicly acknowledge our members of the board. So, and guys, I'm going to go in no particular order. I'm going to go this way. So up first, I have Miss Hope Morales, Outstanding Leadership Award, and Leadership Achievement Award. So, Miss Morales, these are for you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have the Exemplary Award, which will go to Miss Mona Kirk. And this certificate acknowledges this board member earned 20 or more hours of training within the 2020-2021 program year. So, Ms. Kirk. All right. And then Our last award for outstanding leadership will go to Mrs. Hilda Sanchez, certifying that the board member has successfully completed 36 cumulative hours of training for Level 2 of the Leadership Development Program set by the Board of Directors of the New Mexico School Boards Association. So, Ms. Sanchez.
Gee, really, 36?
And like I said, I had to twist some arms to get that on the agenda. The group here with us tonight doesn't ask for a lot, and they put in a ton of time. And it's a lot of work that you may not recognize out in the open, but I'm going to promise you that behind the scenes, they're very active, very involved in what we're doing, and it is a true labor of love. And I want to make sure that y'all had an opportunity to get some of the recognition that you so duly deserve. So congratulations again to our board.
Thank you.
All right, I got one more. Not one that we're looking forward to, but I did have to call in a favor on this one. So I have asked for some help in presenting our two board members with a little bit of recognition. And so at this time, if Mr. Gottlieb, if you would please come forward. I could not think of anybody any better to share the history of our two board members. And so, Mr. Gottlieb, I'm going to ask that we start with Mr. Dolan, please. But I'm going to ask Mr. Dolan to come out there next to you, if he would, please.
Well, President Morales, board members, Superintendent, Mr. Luck. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I feel very honored to be here with such an outstanding board. You may or may not realize this. Not too many times do three members get acknowledgement by the State School Boards Association. That's not happened too many times. I was here 33 years, something like that. And out of that time, probably 17 or 18, I was at board meetings. So I have pretty good history on that. I really can't separate the two members, Superintendent Luck. I'm going to combine it together. Don't you leave me, Mr. No, you're not off the hook. To be a board member is very difficult, particularly in these days of trying times. What I mean by that, and it's hard for the public to understand, school boards have lost a lot of authority. When the law changed by the people of the state of New Mexico, changed from a state school board association, where the school boards reported to the state board and the PED reported to the state board, things were a little bit different. School boards had a lot more authority and were able to handle those situations. Now you have the states, there really is not a state school board that has any connection to the Roswell Independent School District Board. There is a state board there. The Roswell Board report directly to the PED through the superintendent and to the governor of New Mexico. It really has changed the focus, and it makes your job very difficult, because the one aspect that has not changed in all these years is you talk directly to the parents and to the kids. And you lose, they lost, and I'm going to give you a little bit of history on that. You lose family time. You lose a lot of your privileges of being an American citizen as you serve on this board. I can tell you, Ms. Morales bit her tongue several times with her child in school or children in school, because she kind of loses that authority as you move forward, as Mr. Dolan did and as Mr. Kirk did as the kids go through. So it's a very difficult, and most parents don't understand, and you cannot go in the store anywhere, and they'll catch you in Albuquerque, without somebody come up, instead of saying, appreciate it, listen, I got a problem, and let me tell you about your problem. And the superintendent did this, you know. So it's a very difficult position. it's not appreciated enough. And I want to tell you, I had time to leave, came back, and I had the greatest pleasure to work with you five again. I'm very saddened to see these two go. Milburn, I worked as a parent first. He got on the board. He served 8 years. Out of those 8, I believe 6 I worked with him on the board. And I worked with him, just kind of give you an idea how long I've worked with Mr. Dolan. His kids in elementary, middle, high school, and now grandkids. That's kind of a long stretch there. Miss Kirk, I worked with as assistant principal, director, and a school board member. And she was here for a little over 6 years, about 6.5, and a year and a half is that one of my bosses. Kind of a role change there. But it was an honor. And I just want the board to acknowledge that, as you well know, the three of you here, that the amount of time and effort and what you give up in family time, dinner time, calls at 4 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock at night, I appreciate it. The community appreciate it. We really appreciate your service. Milburn has always been there. He never left my side. He didn't always agree. And he would let me know. And I would say, Milburn, this is what the law says. This is what the Constitution reads of New Mexico, and we must follow the Constitution of the state of New Mexico. You take an oath to follow that. And by the way, this is what the attorney says. And we have to do that. So we would go through this give and take. Mona, I dealt differently as an administrator. She had a long-term history in that part. We didn't argue as much as I did with some of my conversations with Mr. Dolan, but we had a good understanding, and when she brought a problem up, and it was such a pleasure to work with them and you. And I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here and very honored to say thank you. I appreciate it, Mona. We love you dearly. Your service. I'm going to take Congratulations. You will enjoy it.
Mr. Dolan, Ms. Kirk, would you like to also say some words? 5-minute limit.
Sure, I'll be happy to say some words. Thank you, Mike. So I want to thank Mike and his service. I was okay until now. Gosh. It is. It's very difficult sitting in this chair, and people out there don't realize how difficult it is, the community. But it's been a pleasure. It's been, these 6.5 years have flown by. And I tell you.
I've got to interrupt. I missed one thing on Ms. Mona.
Okay.
She's the second person in the Roswell School District that got master board.
Yes.
Award. So that's quite an achievement. It's quite an acknowledgement by the state school board. So I forgot that, Mona. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Thanks, Mike. So I want to thank the district for allowing me to serve for the 6.5 years. It's just been an awesome, awesome ride. And for the new board members coming on, I hope you're out there watching. I hope you learn to love them as much as I do. And RISD, it's just been so wonderful. And giving up 6.5 years and those phone calls and stopping me in Tatum at the Allsups or Town and Country, you know, it's worth it. It really is. And the connections I've made at the state level, that's where I have really networked. And I'm hoping that you 5 board members will look at becoming master board members, because moving that along and getting that extra training really makes the difference in becoming an awesome board member. And Mike is right. It helps when you have instructional leadership within the district. It makes this job sitting up here so much easier because you know the lingo, you know what's expected. But becoming a master board member really strengthens your leadership. Leadership is not something we have. It's something we give away. Holding on to leadership, sitting in this chair, it's not leadership. Holding on to that does nothing. It's how you empower others to lead that makes you a better leader. So for that, good luck, district. Hopefully I will have a seat somewhere in the district. I have offered my services for substitute admin, so we'll see where that goes.
Oh, I knew it.
Not a full-time, but part-time. Mr. Dolan, your turn.
So this is twice leaving the board. Can you hear me now, Hope? Thanks. I was told not to speak so loud, so someone did. So this is twice leaving the board, and it's an emotional day. I think I said earlier that the things we do on this board, we don't do because of compensation, because we don't. We do it for the sake of the kids of this district. And that's always been my focus. Yes, Mike, we did have some vigorous conversation. Brian, you've lucked out. I got like 15 days left. Probably nothing's going to happen. But, you know, it's been an honor to serve this district. And, you know, I was raised in a family that served the district, the community. And going back, I remember asking my dad one time as he's putting on his tie, going off to another meeting. I'm like, you know, Pappy, why do you do it? He's like, son, it's just my turn. And I think I've had my turn. I welcome the new board members. The view is different from the cheap seats. You know, it's a great district, great staff, great kids. We need to celebrate more wins like tonight with the Goddard football team. Sometimes I've often felt that we don't, no offense, but the paper media doesn't recognize the wins these kids make. Unfortunately, it's the faux pas. You know, I think that, you know, success breeds success, and we should share more of those successes as a community. And it's been an honor to serve with you all. I appreciate the last 18 months, and you know, each one of you, I appreciate everything that you've given to me. To you all, so many across the district. Mr. Cole, on a number of occasions, he still has a bottle of budget candy I gave him many moons ago. But I just appreciate everybody coming together, and Mike coming out tonight, Brenda, and the chance to let me serve with you all for the time that I did. So thank you all.
Thank you. I have one more comment to make before we close or move on. I'm sorry. I do want to thank Mike and Brenda. They were my co-chairs for my campaign, and they did an awesome job. And Mike, eternally grateful for you coming back and serving. And I also want to thank Bobby Carroll, too. His wife, Carol, worked for the district for many, many years, and he was my treasurer. So I do want to thank them, and I recognize them. And, of course, my BFF, Josie, thanks for being here. Thank you.
Before we move on to our next topic,
May
I
I
want
say-
to open it up,
okay.
yes, for the board. Go ahead, Ms. Sanchez.
Oh, well, go ahead and say it, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to open it up.
Oh,
If
I'm
you
so
could share
sorry.
some options.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Kirk and Mr. Dolan for bringing their passion, their dedication, their intellect, insight, their experience, and their resources to our school board. I know that stakeholders appreciate that you used your experiences, your skills, your knowledge, and education to move our district forward. Thank you for challenging me, for teaching me, for advising me and holding me accountable. And none of us as board members have achieved in isolation, and the successes that we've had as a board, we've enjoyed together has been the results of our cooperation and collaboration. I want to say it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work alongside these board members, Mrs. Kirk and Mr. Dolan. And I want to say we shouldn't expect Mrs. Kirk to remain out of the limelight for long. That's true. Thank you.
No, our ISD is my passion.
You want to say anything?
Well, you know, it's been a pleasure to work with Ms. Kirk, Milburn over here, Milburn Dolan. You know, I've learned a lot from Ms. Kirk over the last couple of years. But you know, me and Milburn have a long, long history growing up in my neighborhood. Been a lifelong friend of mine. And I'm gonna tell you, what you see from Milburn is what you get. You might not like what he says, but that's what you get. What you see is what you get. He's not false. He's gonna tell you how it is. And he's always been that way. Miss Mona, you know, we've had our differences, but I have the utmost respect for the lady. You know, when I first got on the board, it was like bumping heads. I mean, we bumped heads, and she knows we did. But we put those bumpings aside, and I think we've done a good job as a board. Some people might disagree and say otherwise, but we've had stability in our board, and I thank y'all for that. And like I said, you know, I don't have anything but kudos for these folks.
Thank you.
And I have the utmost respect, and I don't say that lightly because I'll tell you how it is. But Milburn, you know, you're going to be missed. You've been a very positive force on the board. And when I say force, it's not pushing your way through things. It's explaining them. And a lot of time we don't get that. So I thank you for that, Mona. Kudos to yourself. You know, it speaks worldly of these two folks. You know, I have nothing but utmost respect.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Happy trails. And, you know, hey, we still live here in Roswell, so y'all know where I'm at.
And I just want to echo what they've said about both of you. Until you sit in these seats, you have no idea. You think you know, but the time, the training, the hours, the conversations, it's a lot. And I stalk other school boards around the state because I want to learn from them. I want to see what they do. And we are a good board. I've watched. We are very diverse, and that was part of the strength of a board because we brought different background, different understanding, different questions, expertise. But we always did so with respect of each other. And that's something that a lot of people across the state, they don't have for each other anymore. And when you work in such a hard position with so many challenges, especially during COVID, what you need is a team that respects each other. And you guys have made it okay and enjoyable, and we have accomplished a lot. And Juno, I'm gonna start emailing you a lot more of our accomplishments to help get it out there. But we need to focus on that. Because without the strong board that we've had, there's a lot of things that we couldn't have accomplished. And the job is not done yet, but you both have taught me so much. You bring so much experience and knowledge. And I thought I knew, and I had no idea, but I've learned more from you. Those first months as a board member was extremely frustrating, Mr. Gottlieb, you remember? Because I learned my role. But you guys have taught me a lot, and I think us a lot, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you all for the kind words, and Milburn, same thing. Someone mentioned to me that the board is losing its bookends, so I don't know how to take that. We're at each end. I don't know. But thank you all for the kind words, and it's been a pleasure serving with each of you. And Milburn, same thing. You're going to be desperately missed.
Thank you all.
Alrighty, now we're gonna go ahead and move on. We have inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
Yes, ma'am, we have 3.
Okay. I'll go over our ground rules and then we can call them up one by one. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. Please do not discuss confidential personnel matters, including those of a disciplinary nature regarding any RISD employee. This should be discussed with the superintendent or the employee supervisor. Please self-monitor and observe the 2-minute time limit. You may be given a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. If needed to accommodate a larger number of speakers and maintain a reasonable meeting schedule, the time limit for all speakers may be shortened. No sharing of time is permitted. Public commentary and dialogue is only guaranteed during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. For the safety of yourself and others, signs and placards are not permitted in the boardroom. However, you are invited to express your concerns during public forum or submit your concerns to the board in writing. Okay, Ms. Whitcamp?
Yes. Our first speaker is Kelly Bowles. Lily Bowles, I apologize, yes.
I have a copy of my statement.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I lower my mask?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Good evening, my name is Lily Bowles. I'm a junior at Goddard High School, and I would like to call section I-611, IKA-R of board policy into question. This section states that after 4 dual credit courses have been taken, the weighted GPA scale of 5 points will be removed, demoting any further college-level courses to the standard 4-point scale. Students who consistently seek accelerated opportunities are penalized, as the weight of their courses drops below that given to some peers for identical course completion. As the Board of Education, it is your duty to provide students of your district with ample and equitable opportunity to further their education. This policy, however, functions contrary to that goal. As it is currently written, the policy fails to provide myself, along with other students, the opportunity for acceleration. In addition to the limiting capacity of the policy, RISD has failed to adhere to state statute regarding next step plans. Inadequate communication and implementation of board policy across the district and insufficient advising standards have resulted in a subpar learning environment. These discrepancies have continually amplified the faults in policy, furthering the negative effects on students. The policy forces students to choose between college courses, long-term personal goals, and scholarship opportunities. The drop in weight of dual credit academic courses diminishes their appeal exponentially, driving students away from utilizing these resources. Not only is the implementation of the policy questionable, but the rationale behind it is unclear. Students should continually be encouraged to reach their fullest potential, yet a system like this discourages young adults from striving for a better education. We are fortunate to have a higher education institution willing to accommodate and educate high school students in the community, but I fear we have failed to take advantage of this resource and limited its capabilities to launch students into an early start on post-secondary education. Lifting the cap on weighted dual credit courses is not only necessary, but long overdue and time sensitive. I sincerely hope you will consider revision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jonathan Smith.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Smith, an out-of-state transfer and a student athlete at Goddard High School. I, along with other students, have come to the realization that our dual credit program is inadequate and that it is restricting students in their learning, and we don't have enough academic opportunities to carry a full schedule our senior year at that honors level, and are left without options and credits to be athletically eligible. We have come to another challenge again that threatens our academics, and our class has never known a normal year of high school, and have faced challenges after challenge. And I get that this board may not have been here when this statute was implemented, but it is restricting our students heavily and discouraging our academic success post high school and into our communities. But we need to change. And what does it cost you to hold on to these arbitrary numbers of just 4 credits? When you have admin that you guys have brought in and that stand currently that can help foster a dual credit program that can launch students to have associate's degrees out of high school and be productive members in our community. If our mission is to inspire, empower, and educate each student to become a successful, responsible citizen, why don't we work together to raise this limit? If not, remove the limit of success our students and community can achieve. Together with teachers and new administration and other students, we have exhausted all other means but your approval, and are asking you to help and be the solution and help eliminate this outdated statute. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Next, we have Frank Seeley.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Seeley. I'm a father of a daughter. She is a junior at Goddard High School. I applaud these young folks for getting up here and speaking their thoughts about this dual credit rule. I also wanted to speak to you about it. While I think there is probably some merit to looking to amending that current rule, I think I would ask that maybe that rule stand as is for those who are currently in high school. Many students have planned their past and future schedules with this dual credit rule in mind. So to change that rule in the midst of their high school academic career is quite frankly unfair to those who have planned to set future academic goals. A change would be better suited toward an incoming freshman that can account for that rule when planning out their future course route for their high school career. So just like at a football game, I mean, you wouldn't change the rules in the third quarter, so I'm asking that you not change it in the midst of their high school career. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Okay, we're going to go to our informational items tonight. Mr. Luck?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, we have one informational item tonight, and it's titled District Navigation in the Fall for our 2021 COVID Barriers. It was interesting when I started working on this. I went around the building and I asked everybody, I said, man, I need some success stories here. I want to hear some great things that have gone on. And I started in the first office, and we went through and we talked about getting back to in-person job fairs. And we talked about getting our first very own job fair, all of our own, that we were able to accomplish, and how we've been working to support our substitutes and working to support our teachers. And then I started, moving from different office to different office. And it really got me thinking that for the last 7 months, this has been the focal point of everything that we've done. And that, as we tie where we're at as a district to where we're going to go as a district, that it would be nice. And I've had several speakers that have come and they talk about moving past where we're at with all of our COVID stuff. And I think we're there. I mean, I really do. I feel like we've got some areas that we've turned some corners. For instance, I've been to 2 middle schools thus far, and I've talked to them about how we have started to maybe get a little bit more assimilated back into a school environment. There's not a number that I can put on that. It's funny, I actually reached out to Miss Morgan, and my thought is if I start doing this and I look, we'll see a higher attendance rate right now. Then I pull up the attendance rates, and there's not a lot of difference. And so I started asking around as far as, let's talk about what's going on with that. And what I got out of it was, we went through such a difficult time last year with how do you count a kiddo absent? Are they absent if they're not on the computer at that particular time? And again, going through the conversations, we have looked at where we're at now in the gains. And test data, I talked with Mr. Bewley, coming up probably February, we will have a presentation on our middle of the year examinations that we've taken. And it's like I said, it's more of a feel and a vibe, and I can't really explain it. And I feel kind of bad because it's in a report form here, and I'm supposed to be bringing you these factual informations, and going out and talking in the buildings and listening to some of the people and some of their concerns and how some of it is things that have been positive. The implementation of using the computers with our kids, and having them have the opportunity once they get home to log on and to do extra work. We have the ability right now where all of our kids are at a one-to-one. Our kids have the ability to have internet provided for them. And I think that there's some plus wins in as far as that goes. We've had construction projects that have gone on across the district. We've had multiple sets of supplies bought, purchased, stored away. Our athletic programs have got back up to, I don't want to say normal levels, but we've conducted a full set of fall sports calendars. We've had winter band concerts. I think we've got some winter choir concerts going on tonight. We had orchestras going on last night.
STEM champions?
So our science teams are going to different places. It's hard because I think a lot of times we focus on the negative, and the negative seems to outweigh even if there's more positives. And so right now, I really want to champion the effort of the staff of the Roswell schools, and that where we're at today, although it might not feel like it for them, is so much further than where we were. I mean, obviously a year ago, we weren't even in school at this point in time. But if you go back to August, which feels like an entire school year ago, to our teachers, they've come a long way. They've come a long way. We ran through an audit process that had 0 findings. I mean, in a year right now where we have people that are in building and not in building, and you have some fundraisers occurring and some not occurring, that's a testimony to that department. Instruction has pulled through. We've trained. We've got a lot of money rolling through there. And our stipulations with a lot of that is training. And Ms. Cole and her crew has done a marvelous job trying to pull all of that together. And it is monumental. Mr. Hill and her crew in recruiting, I mean, it's just like COVID, lack of people, and insert any other bad problem you want to insert. We've recruited, we've beat the bushes, we've incentivized, we have streamlined, we have worked on a better process for our records. I mean, everything that I'm seeing is pointing to the success that we're about to really embark on. I know Mr. Bewley's assessment piece, there was some question as to why would we do that? Why would we, we had such a big piece of learning loss over the last year and a half, and a lot of districts in the state aren't working on that. And as we, talked with Mr. Bewley and worked things through, the need for talking it out and looking at what our numbers are fixing to show. And I think even in the small amount of numbers that we've got in right now, I know I had a principal reach out to me today. And I mean, we're 93% growth across this mid-school on their math exam for middle of the year exam.
Nice.
And I mean, I stopped and I was just like, oh my gosh. Now granted, I didn't say 93% proficiency, okay? But right now, I'm gonna champion the gains that we have. And my hope is that our teachers, as they're reflecting on the last 6 months of what we've just gone through, that they can take a moment and champion the small gains that they've got as well. So like I said, I've got an assessment piece coming up probably in February, once we get all of that pulled out and working through. I hope to be able to report on more specific items as we get up to them. But I really just want to champion the spirit of our teachers, because I think simply making it to the point that we're at and being able to progress and move forward, that's my navigation of COVID-19 for tonight, if I could, please.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to say, Mr. Luck, so we have no barriers, just possibilities.
Yes, ma'am. Well, no.
There's some challenges.
We have some challenges. We have they're bumps. But But I think the biggest thing that even we were talking a second ago is we've done this. This is 6 months of we can do this. We may not like it, but this is 6 months of we can do it, and now we can get back to some of the business of doing our business. And it's very important that we make that turn. And it's with the parent support. Things are going great, and we have a little outbreak, or we have a class that gets quarantined, or a student that gets sent home. And boy, I know it. I mean, I've heard some really gnarly horror stories. But I'm here today to say we're at the point of December, and when we start back up in January, we know how to navigate this. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Billy, thank you for advocating for our students to take the assessment. We have to know where they're at in order to know how to get where we want to go, so thank you. If I have a wish list of, hey, what do you want to know about in February? Assessment data, like you mentioned, our recruitment efforts. We have students who just graduated from college, maybe retirees who sat out their year. Are we getting any of them in? I'll keep pushing on time for teachers. How are we fighting to give them more time for planning and student SEL and behavior? So we're definitely living in a different world that we need to support, and just learning more about the strategies we're using and any, hopefully, celebrations from those efforts. So it's December, giving you my wish list.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're gonna go on to approval of the minutes.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, November 9th, 2021.
Do we have any modifications?
No, but I'd like to make a comment. After looking at the board minutes, I noticed a new format. There is no longer narratives, it's just listed items. So that was unusual, but
I've seen that for a few months.
this was the first month it was actually listed with, in this style that I noticed. So anyway, no narrative, and that's a little concerning, but we have the camera if they want to go back and watch it. They're more than welcome to, but kudos, good job. I have no other, I didn't see any corrections.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, our consent agenda is now up.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda to approve November bills, authorize December bills, and approve December bars.
Do we have any discussion or questions?
I have none.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Edwards, second made by Mr. Dolan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, we have action items next. First, we have the Lano Foundation donation to RHS for STEM.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the Los Alamos National Lab Foundation donation for the Roswell High School STEM.
Mr. Costa, you want to come up?
Madam President, Superintendent Luck, thank you for having me here tonight. I'd like to just take this opportunity. I was hoping I could catch those young people before they left. I thought they did a phenomenal job of following the process and letting their voice be heard, so I wanted to applaud them for that. Also, just it's a Christmas season, so Merry Christmas, everybody. It's nice to sit back there and just be surrounded by people that have one goal, and that's to be here for children. So board members, the two that are outgoing, I definitely appreciate you guys reaching out to Roswell High. And in your service, y'all been nothing but supportive. So I want to thank you guys with that. Parents that are here, I know your children are going to be, I know they're in good hands because you're here representing them. So thank you for being here. It's my honor to just kind of give you an update. We appreciate the donation that came from the Los Alamos National Laboratories. We got 1,000. Also, I want to share with our brothers across town, Goddard got the funds as well, and they've been used, so that's good. Hopefully, they went to the New Mexico Governor STEM Challenge. Both of our schools, Roswell Independent School District was represented very well. Goddard won in their presentation and were picked up by one of the corporations there. I don't know much about theirs. I do know about ours, but I definitely, with Mr. Zuniga and his team, wanted to congratulate them. The Governor STEM Challenge happened on 12/11/21, and our students represented an artificial heart to generated heart. I wish I had that sort of understanding of the human heart to be able to really truly understand what our kids took on. What it is, it's identifying a need in the world that was an influence to task of how to handle the problem of a national epidemic of heart disease. 6 students took on the challenge to offer a unique perspective on a possible solution. I'd like to recognize Brianna Sanchez, Layla Lopez, Jordan Island, Lainey Carlock, Jail Uni Arcala, and Monica Aragon, and they decided to take on this challenge. Wow. Their project was to identify how stem cells can work as a solution for the diseased heart. These students did the research to show how this would work and extract stem cells from a bone marrow and reinsert it into the human heart. The end of this process will show the possibility of little or no limitations for repairing hearts, economic, environmental, and moral benefits, affordable, and peace of mind, and increased availability. It's my pleasure to announce that Molina Health Company picked the team as the winner in the medical, health, science, and engineering category. And we definitely want to recognize Mr. Likens for all his tireless work. And the thing that's really neat about the STEM Challenge team is that they need access to the building, so custodians let them in. They need permission to do certain things, so our assistant principals, administration come in. Also, Mr. Luck and his staff, our assistant superintendents and directors, whatever has been needed in the past, they get that. So this $1,000 donation that came from the Lanel Foundation is very much appreciated, but it's a lot more than goes to that. And this is our New Mexico's our STEM Challenge team. We consider them back-to-back state champions. So last year when they did the artificial limb, if you guys recall, they were selected as the top then in their division. So we're hopefully, if you walk into Coyote Den, we have, when the Charlie's Angels were champions, when our basketball team were champion. So we're going to work on also recognizing our New Mexico STEM Challenge team as state champions. So some of our victories that we want to share, and we thank the Roswell Daily Record. I think they're coming out actually tomorrow morning to cover that story. So thank you. At this time, I'll entertain any questions you may have. I hope I have the answers.
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you speak specifically what the donation's going towards?
So the trip, covering the cost of the bus, covering the donation's actually pretty broad, covering any need that the student may have, busing, meals, materials to complete the project, and as they go forward, as they start to discuss things with their sponsor, if that requires more money, that could be placed to that as well.
Nice.
So, okay.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Carrasco, you're probably going to have to say all of that again in January so we can bring your students here to acknowledge them. And Mr. Luck, you're talking about last year, this year, comparing it. I toured your school last year about this time, and I was in Mr. Likens' classroom. He was showing us all this fabulous 3D equipment, and he was so upset and frustrated that his students couldn't be there. I was trying my best to say, what about a small group? What about this? What about that? Last year when, we had no options. So to see now that you have a student group of state champions is just so awesome. So congratulations, and we'll bring them in January.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Anything else, Board?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Carrasco. Okay, with that, may I get a motion to approve?
Madam President.
Oh,
Madam President, before we make the motion, I just want to make sure that the board is clear that we want to make sure that we honor the process when it comes to this. I will be following up with the Goddard High School group.
Thank you.
Because again, we want to make sure that we honor the process and that the board is in full understanding, and it looks sideways, that the competition has taken place, and we're coming before you tonight for the acceptance of the money. I've discussed with Mr. Cole, and Mr. Cole reminded me of the 24-hour deposit rule. And should you as an entity decide that we do not wish to take the money, that we would be refunding Los Alamos National Lab, and we would be cutting them back a check. That in all aspects of what we're going to do tonight, we want to make sure we honor the process. Thank you.
So let me get that straight. So the donation was given, but it wasn't a 24-hour deposit?
So, to be clear, we've already received the check, deposited the check, they've made the trip.
Oh, okay.
So it
okay.
was
So
that
it's
was
after the
all
fact.
actually done
Thank you.
prior to
Okay. Okay.
bringing to the board. But again, as Mr. Luck just stated, 24-hour deposit rule is so we put it in the check. We deposit the check immediately.
Okay.
And then we can cut a check back.
I
if
don't
the
have a
board
problem
doesn't.
with it.
The other purpose of bringing these donations to the board is a lot of these charitable donations made by private businesses may be deductible, and so an acknowledgement of that by the board to that foundation business or whatever goes a long way.
Does.
Alrighty, we'll try again. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go Ms. Kirk and Ms. Sanchez for the first and second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. Okay, next we have the literacy resolution.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the literacy resolution.
Ms. Sanchez, would you like to start us off and talk about the literacy resolution?
Thank you, President. Madam President, yes. I think that all of us as school board members have heard loud and clear that providing our families with ways to support literacy engagement is an area of need. Immediate family is a core component to reading success for all of our students. Educating the community on literacy plays a large role in the students' growth as well. I believe this literacy resolution will be at the heart of everything we do in our schools in reading. We will use this resolution to share our commitment with our stakeholders in and out of education. I believe this literacy resolution is a commitment that we make to the parents of the students in our schools and to the students themselves. This resolution allows the Roswell School Board to convey to the parents and all our stakeholders that we are serious about improving reading proficiency, instruction, and meeting our goals for all students in reading. This literacy resolution shows parents that we will do what we will do to make sure that each student reaches those goals. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Board, anybody else?
I would like to comment on the resolution. My only, it's not even a negative comment, but I appreciate the fact that she took the opportunity to do this and took the time. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. But I just don't want it year-long. I want it to be a lifelong. Literacy is at the core of education. If you can't read, there's not much else you can do. So kudos to Ms. Sanchez for bringing this resolution forward. And I would just like it to be a lifelong literacy, not just a year of literacy, a lifelong literacy challenge.
And I think I did put, throughout the coming year and beyond,
And I
to
appreciate that,
initiate whatever
absolutely.
actions are necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? The resolution mentions activities in April, so if the district can just help inform us on activities, events, celebrations, so that we can help do that with the community as well. And since a lot of districts across the state are doing this, it would be great if the Public Education Department could provide marketing materials or help us to help spread the word, since we won't be the only districts really celebrating the Year of Literacy. And with that, may I get a motion to pass?
So moved.
Mr. Edwards, may I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. And now we have the 12-14-21 addenda schedule, add second assistant wrestling coach.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 12-1421 addenda schedule, add second assistant wrestling coach. And I have Mr. Cooper and Ms. Trujillo here to answer any questions. And Coach Cooper, if you could, would you step up and kind of explain this one, please?
What we have is, we have an expansion with the wrestling program. It's, you know, both Coach Archuleta at Goddard and Coach Boggs at Roswell High have really expanded and got the youth wrestling, and it's building each year. And both of them only have one assistant. But the biggest reason probably is that we've added girls into wrestling. It's an official sport now. You know, we have state champions with the girls and so forth. And we've got to make sure that we've got enough coverage, you know, for supervision. You know, when they're, you know, wrestling's one of those sports, you can't just sit out there. It's not like basketball, you know, where, you know, you put them all on the end of the court and all. You've got to do some demonstration and do a lot with them to teach them those moves that they're going to need to succeed. So I think it's very important that, you know, we add the extra assistant, and, you know, that way, and also when they're going to meet, sometimes the girls will be at one place, JV may be at another, and you know, and the varsity in another place. We try to get them together, but sometimes it does go to different spots. But ultimately, you know, it's for the kids, and I think the time has come that we look to expand our wrestling program.
Thank you. Any questions, board?
If I could just add one other thing, we're also changing the name from boys wrestling to wrestling. And that would be the distinction. Again, we're looking at equity, Title IX, honoring the sport and the participants with both genders.
Thank you.
How many girls do we have participating?
I think that we have.
Did I see some in the
7 or 8.
newspaper? I did, didn't I?
7 or 8, I think, at each school right now, and
Okay.
of course, you know,
Wow.
we've got kids, you know, coming up for 8th grade, because it's not offered at the middle school level, kind of like with some of the other sports we have. So we've got some kids coming up that are, you know, participating, that, you know, even as 8th graders. But,
And
you
they
know,
wrestle the boys?
Well, at the meet, yeah, they have.
Ah, yeah.
It's by
yeah.
weight.
It's by weight.
Oh, my
But
Lord.
they do have the divisions when it gets down.
Why are
to
you
the
surprised, Ms.
district.
Sanchez? We can hold our own. No?
Yeah, when we get down to the district meet, they got a separate meet for the girls, and at state, they compete girl on girl, you know, for the state championship. So, but, you know, during the regular year, other night, we were at the Wool Bowl, which was a great, this is the second year we've done it out at the Wool Bowl between Roswell and Goddard for their big match. And it was a pretty nice night. It was a little cool, but those kids, you know, they toughed it out and did it, and it was a neat environment.
It was.
And, you know, I know we had one match between a girl and a boy, and it was a really competitive match. So it's fun to watch. Wrestling is a sport that, you know, I didn't know much about. I'm always busy with basketball at the same time, but, you know, I've enjoyed going and watching it and watching, you know, how each coach has progressed their program.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Awesome.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Edwards and a second by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. Okay, we now have the social emotional learning curriculum.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the social emotional learning curriculum. And I have 3 individuals here tonight. I have Mr. Clay, Ms. Price, and I have Ms. Cole, who I think is going to take the lead on this one real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to, good evening, Madam President and members of the board, Superintendent Luck. So I just want to start off by commending our social work team and our counselors, our social emotional learning team. I believe that we truly have one of the best social work and counseling teams in the state of New Mexico when it comes to the social emotional learning. They have been forward thinking. They have been student centered. They are thoughtful of our teachers and our administrators and all the work that they do. We are actually leading the way in some of the trainings we are providing. I referenced the trauma-informed practices training that Coach Clay did last year, and the CSTAG training, threat assessment training that we've done this year, QPR training. We have trained the trainers in the school, so I just really commend the hard work that they're doing and appreciate them and they truly are leading the way in the state in social emotional learning. So thank you to them for all the work that they're doing. So this work around the curriculum actually started last year in January. The state released some grants to schools to apply for. So that actually came from the schools. So they started the process of vetting out different curriculum for evidence-based, and we did have some schools apply, but we didn't receive any of those grants. The need for social emotional learning curriculum continues to be a priority for us, and so we're working on a long-term strategic plan to deal with some of the SEL, but because of the sense of urgency that we have right now, we decided to go ahead and bring this curriculum to you with the goal in mind of presenting an SEL strategic plan January or February. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Clay. Thank you.
Hello to the board, to Madam President, Mr. Luck, Ms. Kirk. Brent Clay, school social worker. I've been with the district since 2004. Left for a little bit, went to Houston, I returned. Ms. Kirk was one of my teachers at Mountain View Middle School, so I am a product of Roswell Independent School District. Today, I'd like to kind of present a little bit. There are 34 slides, so my background is I'm a minister, I'm a pastor. I come out of the Baptist and Methodist church, so we're going to be here for a while. I'm just joking. We will not be here that long. But thank you that you all have the slides. I do want to go in and kind of get started on it. As Ms. Cole said, my team, myself, Cynthia Price, Ms. Bolaños in the back, thank you, and a number of others that I'd like to recognize, but I'm going to continue to go forward. Looking at SEL, I'm a school social worker, and we know that when the pandemic hit, a lot unfolded. We've seen a lot, okay? School social worker, my job is I work with behavioral students. So I know behavior, I work with them. When we have problems, I'm the one that my school tends to call in. Why? Well, because I have a heart for it. Number 2, I've been trained in it. 3, I'm very patient. So, and I learned that from my 4 daughters. I am a girl dad. So when you're talking about wrestling, yes. Okay, some of the key elements that I'd like to talk about. Positive action. As Mr. Luck was saying earlier about celebrating and highlighting some positives, positive action does that. Our school district is in need of SEL right now. Our teachers are asking for it. They're requesting help. How do I deal with this? Well, as I saw the youth come in earlier, and I looked at them, and I was just like, oh, they're so cute. They're growing up. But I remember a time when I was there at Chisholm Elementary. Okay, there were a lot of things that I was taught that aren't necessarily being covered now. For example, Kirk Potter, my PE coach, he taught me about hygiene. He taught me about using deodorant. He taught me about the reproductive system.
That was my PE coach.
Really?
Chisholm.
You went to Chisholm? Go Pioneer, same here. Yes, I was there with Grace Romero, so.
Yes.
Yes. Barbara Carr?
We're gonna have to talk later.
We will have to talk. That was, yeah, my stomping ground. So if we look at our positive action, I love the program. It's been vetted. I've reached out to Clovis is also using the program. But some of the key things about it is that it does connect families and schools and communities, which gives us that type of wraparound services. When we look at our MLSS, it meets the ESSA standards. And how does it meet that standard? It's because it's been tried and true. It has gone through testing, and they have tiers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The tier number 1 is you have to have a random trial. So 1 or more. This SEL program has done that. It cultivates safe, engaging, and inclusive environment. But what that looks like is, what is the school climate? What does the school climate look like? How do students feel when they enter the building? Do they feel accepted? Do they want to be there? When we were mentioning attendance, this addresses it. But not only that, when we look at the mental health component, we look at the trauma that our students have been facing. Okay, as the other students came up and presented and made their points strong, there are certain skills that they learned. We want our students, all of them at RISD, to have those skills. And that's where it's embedded in positive action. This is kind of, and you have this here, this is just the authoritative groups that have confirmed it. One that I would really like to highlight is the U.S. Department of Justice and the Office of Justice Programs. So when schools have to come in and be reformed, This program has been one program that leads whenever schools need to be reformed, but it is evidence from ESSA. This is the wheel. The key thing about this is that it has five components that SEL must cover. Self-awareness, which our students will get in 1 to 6, and from units 1 to 6. They'll get self-management. How do I manage myself? How do I manage my interactions? Social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. How do I make concrete decisions? And these are skills that our students may lack in some area, and not to just polarize and say we just want to target one thing. This SEL covers a multitude of areas. I know we're moving out of RTI into MLSS, but this kind of shows the tier. One thing that I do want to look and focus on is more about the philosophy of positive action. What is it really about? Positive action is about the thoughts, actions, and feelings. And what it holds true is that when a student, using almost the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy model, when students understand that their thoughts impact their actions, that impact their feelings. And that can be both positive and negative. If we have positive feelings, if we have negative feelings, this impacts it. I'm gonna go through, there we are. There's the philosophy there. I kind of put a picture of my grandson and Mr. Luck crossing the street there.
He was fast.
He was fast.
He was fast.
Okay, it consists of 6 units. Now, keep in mind, they're from pre-K all the way to 12, and they consist of 6 units. And those 6 units continue, but they're given at grade level. What do those units look like? They start with the philosophy, which is we call it the TAF, thinking, acting, and feeling. But things that our students will get, okay? Of course, we'll learn to exercise in our PE classes, but also learning about how do I avoid illness? How do I avoid harmful substances? How do I become motivated to learn, okay? We look at delayed gratification. Do I put off what feels good now and go on to college? But how do we value learning? Okay, as I work with students, that's a constant push to value learning, that this is a seed that you're planting, and in time, it will produce fruit, but not just yet, but how do we value learning? Also, managing our responsibilities. I do believe there are certain things that have to be taught at home. Finances is one of them, but we can also assist our kids in learning about finances. How do I manage my actions? How do I manage my feelings? How do I deal with loneliness and worry and discomfort? The social skill component shows about, empathy, fairness, kindness. And of course, in Unit 5, we get to honesty, telling others the truth. How do I deal with my own feelings? We use an emotion wheel from time to time when I'm working with students. And one big emotion that I like to teach students is about jealousy, understanding it. It's an emotion. Why did you react that way? I was jealous. That's okay. We understand that. So this is a big piece to it. I'm kind of going through quickly, but if we look at the units, the one thing that I do want to highlight is the fact that this SEL program aligns with our ELA New Mexico benchmarks. So they are aligned there. They're moving into aligning it with math as well. Now, when we look at fidelity, because we don't want just another curriculum that our team has, but when we look at fidelity, what positive action offers, it offers an opportunity to track how it's being used. And that creates fidelity. So it's not a curriculum that we put on the shelf. But it also has with it software that comes with the SEL that we're able to use, collect surveys through SurveyMonkey, collect surveys through Google, and as this SEL program will assist in being able to crunch the data and check for fidelity, but also its long-term impacts. When our students leave, the skills that they develop, yes, we want them to read, as you mentioned earlier, we want them to read, write, count, but we also want them to be productive. They spend the prime of their day with us. And in that time, we give them an education, but also we give them skills that they can use. And the key thing about this is a skill-given program to equip students with skills for real life. This kind of talks about the kits and how they're used. And if we use them in our tier system that's in MLSS, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, where we have universal at the bottom, we have intensive, and then we go into targeted and then intensive. Our school counselors can then pull out and work with students individually if we target a population of students that really need more intensive services. This program provides it. So, that's the Cliff Note version of positive action. So, any questions?
Mr. Clay, so tier 1 would be whole classroom.
Whole classroom, universal.
And you go into the whole classroom and do this training with them?
Well, it's teacher-driven. Our teachers would use the curriculum and teach it, and it takes about 15 minutes. The lessons are about 15 minutes. So over the school year, it's less than 1% of our instruction time over the whole school year, if it's implemented correctly.
Okay, and then tier 2 would be a little more intensive.
Right, more small group. We'll pull in small group. And then if we have to get to tier 3, that's more intensive, where we identify a specific population that really needs that one-on-one, possibly.
Okay, and the teachers would be trained in this process?
Teachers would be trained in this, and what that looks like is that a positive action would provide instructors to train the instructor, if that makes sense. Positive
Yeah.
action would train a team, and then that team would be eligible to train as many in RISD as possible.
And what's the timeline?
For
this process, getting it started and moving forward with it?
So we're working on a strategic plan, district-wide strategic plan. We just want to be able to have the materials in our hands. And so Mr. Clay is visiting with individual schools and faculties. So timeline is we would like to have implementation full implementation by the end of the spring semester.
Nice. Okay, nice. Thank you.
And this is just the mid schools?
Excuse me?
At the middle schools only?
It's elementary and middle.
Oh, it's both, okay.
And then I see a high school component too. Would that?
Absolutely.
Then we plan on.
Layering it out, yes.
So on the more intensive training, the one-on-one, who would provide that training?
that, we would target our school counselors, and also with this positive action, there's room for our school social workers to be able to embed it within our services as well.
So each school has a counselor then?
And a social worker.
I can't
We
answer
are
that
still
question.
looking for counselors at the elementary schools. All of our middle schools have counselors. Our high schools have counselors, and we are sharing counselors at some of our elementary schools. So if we know of any counselors out there that want to come to work for us, we would love to have them because there is certainly a need.
So are you going to provide some of the training to most of these people that are going to be doing the training?
That is my intention, yes.
Okay.
So is there anything going on now at any level of social emotional learning training for our staff?
At any level. What I can say, I'm at Mountain View, and I can speak for Mountain View, okay?
Okay, so can I veer off of here? So is there a training going on for the staff at this point in time for social emotional learning?
We've had several smaller trainings. So last year we started having the trauma-informed practices trainings. We've had the CSTAG threat assessment training for our counselors, and some of our administrators participated in that. We've done self and match training, but those are not universal layers. So what we need is a universal layer, and this would be that universal piece for all of our schools. We have PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. It's a system, a way of doing things in the schools. So we've been going in, the team has been going in and doing some fidelity checks at the schools to determine some needs. And so we have some pockets of that where it's going really well, and we have full school-wide implementation of the PBIS system, but it's not district-wide. So this piece would be a training that's universal, district-wide, and highly needed.
So at the teacher level, there's really not a whole lot going on to look for keywords or, and I'm going with bullying. I saw the bullying up there, okay? I was sitting with a young lady yesterday, and I asked how things are going at school, and I was told, well, there's a kid in my class that bullies me, picks on me every day. I said, well, did you tell your teacher? And my teacher told me, don't worry about it, just go back to work. So it's difficult, okay, for those of you who know me, my past, to hear those words from this young lady, where a teacher would dismiss, especially when a student says, hey, he's bullying me and picking on me. Because the difference between picking on someone and bullying them, they interchange. So my question is, you know, has the districts, I know they have a bullying policy, but is there anything that goes on throughout the district?
Mr. Dolan, that is exactly why we need this curriculum. We need it district-wide. So, again, we've had pockets of things happening. We do have a district bullying policy.
To let them in and allow anyone to meeting, please press star 8.
Depends what it is.
Royce, can you press star 8? I don't know.
Hang up.
So, my, you know, so my concern, you know, it's my last night, but I would hope that if this starts, you know, I think that there should always be some type of, hey, at a training, hey, guys, we need to look for these things. I know there was I know this was before we switched from a board policy to a state board policy, and everything changed. I just think, you know, if they're gonna go with this, it would be, hopefully that will be something that will implemented rather quickly so that people remain in a better stage of life.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's it.
So if I can follow a little bit on what Mr. Dolan said, and this is part of it from my understanding, because I don't know if I'm mixing them up, if they're different things, but is SEL and bad behavior bullying, are those separate things? Are they one? How do we?
So when we're looking at SEL, social emotional learning, and you look at bullying, you're looking at acts. Maybe when you were talking about the separation of bullying and when they intersect. And what that looks like is if it's one time, kid says, oh, those are ugly shoes. Students use that. They polarize it. He's bullying me. He's bullying me. But if it's repeated and it occurs more than twice, then it becomes bullying, to your point. Now, do the two join? Yes, because they teach about behavior. The SEL teaches about my emotions, how I'm feeling, how do I interact with my peers so that I can self-regulate, manage my emotions, so that I understand from a victim standpoint or a survivor standpoint. So all of that meshes together, which is social emotional learning. So when we look at what is a bully, we have to begin to peel layers away and understand how did this person get to carry the term of a bully and what bullying behavior looks like. So SEL helps to address that so that we don't get to that point. And if we are there, how do we dissect it and change behavior?
So are you saying that the training goes mainly to the students?
The training goes from teacher to students, and it's embedded daily, or we can do it through advisory. But yes, it does go to the students directly.
So but the teachers have to understand the concept to identify.
Right.
Like if the kid with high water pants, red hair and big ears is picked on every day, and the teachers condone it because he wears high water pants, has red hair and has big ears, it's still bullying.
It's still, if it continues,
No.
absolutely, it's
The
still
first time it
bullying.
happened.
And to your point, when you say, do the teachers get the training to understand what does bullying look like? How do I address it? So that not only do they understand it, then they can teach on it.
But yeah, but my question was, because you keep talking about the student has to identify it, the staff have to be able to identify it as well.
Right.
Because if a student comes and says, hey, they're picking on me every day, and it continues, then it's bullying, and the teacher's negligent in their duties to protect that student.
So, yes, sir, Mr. Dolan. So to answer your question, I think I understand it now. Yes, the staff will be trained on how to implement the curriculum and what to look for in the
That's
classroom.
the
So
part,
the first
to look
step
for.
is training the staff, yes.
Right, not to implement, but to catch on those key words, key behaviors,
Yes.
and changes in student behavior.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we'll do that very similarly to the QPR training. So we'll train and we'll implement a train the trainer model with the staff first, and then we'll work on implementation. And so that's part of the strategic plan that we're working on. We don't just want to throw it at them and say implement. We have to train them in how to implement, what to look for, and so forth.
Exactly, that was my,
Yes, sir.
So will the support be there also? Because training and then abandoning is two different things. So will the support be there for the teachers?
Yes, ma'am. That is one of the things we've talked about too, is, you know, we bring in champs, or we bring in capturing kids' hearts, or we do all these different things. So we want to make sure that we implement and that we sustain, and that we do the fidelity checks to ensure the implementation also.
Good.
Mr. Edwards?
I think that's why I was asking, who's going to be implementing it? Are you going to be the person that does the training? Because I've sit in on some of his trainings, and I'm going to tell you, he's a real, I was going to say a bad word, but I'm going to cut, he's a real good trainer. And I was at one of his QPR trainings last week, and that's why I was asking that question, because it's one thing to have a trainer train somebody else. Like I told him, the trainer that trained me on QPR was horrible. But I watched Coach Clay last week give a training on QPR, and it was just amazing the way he did it. And he tried to get me involved in it, and I just stayed in the back and watched, because it was all inclusive, and the teachers and the staff were paying attention, and they actually filled out the forms, and they had good questions. And that's part of being a good trainer. You can throw a trainer out there, but he can't train worth anything. This guy right here is a real good trainer, and I've seen him in action, and I was like, wow, I was very impressed, because I've had bad trainers.
So that's a big part of it. So not at all to put anything extra on your plate. But if we have one of the best standing before us, how can we utilize him more and leverage him across the district if,
But I didn't want to put him on
Fatten
the
his
spot.
paycheck.
so we need to consider that. One more question on, I know teachers can identify students for the one-on-one support, but they're not the only ones that see the students or catch the things. Are we also, or can we train our librarians, school security, coaches, other people for those look-fors?
Absolutely. When we train the trainer, that trainer.
When you train the trainer?
When we train the trainers, right. Everyone will have access to the training in that building.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the lessons are going to be daily, 15-minute
They
lessons?
can be daily, but they're outlined for 15-minute increments, but definitely need to be done weekly.
Awesome.
So are we going to have the social worker and the counselors working together to train?
That is the direction we're moving in, even as we meet with Ms. Cole, working collaboratively with the school counselors and the school social workers.
So did I hear you saying some schools do not have a counselor, or they're sharing?
Some schools are sharing counselors.
Is it just one school or several schools that are sharing?
I apologize, I don't have the list in front of me, but I think that there are 4 schools that are sharing 2 different counselors. We also have hired, through our recovery money, our ESSERs, we've hired 2 social workers to support, and so we have one of them that has been providing additional support to those schools.
So, Ms. Cole, isn't there either a social worker or a counselor at every school at all times?
No.
No.
Yes, except for the places that we're sharing a counselor because we're not fully staffed. We have vacancies right now that need to be filled.
We currently have 2 schools that we have a vacancy, and it's Sunset and East Grand Plains, and they share a counselor, and therefore, right now, they're sharing a vacancy. Ms. Cole and her staff have reached out to provide support. Our goal right now is to ensure that we do have somebody there, and it would be great right now if I could say that I've got all the time, always there, and in this environment right now,
It's difficult.
It's difficult with whatever's going on. However, and that actually is one of the things that we're working with the Equity Council to ensure that we have the people in place. Worked with Mr. Hill, working with the principals at those two buildings to see where we're at on the vacancies. And then we've got our recruiter. He's got some marching orders to make sure that we've got some counselors coming in there.
Good.
So we have one vacancy posted right now. We also just graduated, I think it was 3 people from our counselor cohort that started a few years ago, and so that was a great celebration. And they just graduated Saturday.
Well,
So-
you know, Mr. Luck, I'd like to say that I think we need to make that our highest priority, because since I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
at Sunset, I've been sharing a counselor. That was way back then. So I think it's time that we give those schools their full counselor or social worker that they need,
Or both.
or both.
Whenever I was a teacher, certain students could only see the social worker if they had an IEP, and then other students, maybe the counselor. Is that
It's
still the
still
same
working.
guidelines? or
Yep.
Has it?
It's blurred.
So it depends on need. And so Mr. Clay talked about the universal layer, the targeted layer, the intensive layer. And so when we have that intense need, sometimes we need to pull together a team. And so one of the components of the CSTAG that we've offered our schools, Ms. Price can speak to this as well, is that multidisciplinary team. So when we have a high-need situation, we pull in a multidisciplinary team. Can be a counselor, social worker, could be a librarian, could be, it's a team approach to support that student. So, but in general, to ask your question, Ms. Morales, our social workers are funded through IDEA, and they support our special education students. And our counselors are whole school population, so universal support.
But if there is a crisis,
Yeah.
our social workers step in.
Yes.
Any crisis, a student standing in the hall crying, we step in.
And I have used my social worker for those crises. I have one last question. So what's the parent component? Because we know that parents are the first teachers
Right.
on teaching children how to behave and not be bullies. So what's
The
that
parent
component?
component is that students learn positive action, and then parents are taught positive action to implement even within the home, so that the skills become transferable. We don't just use them at school, but we can use them at Walmart. We can use them in a public place. But the parent component is that the parents are also taught positive action.
And you bring the parents in then when you're like in layer 3
Right.
or 2, when there's more
When we're
intensive?
more intensive, right, but
Yeah.
it works its way out, and then it
Okay.
goes into the community as well.
Okay, thank you.
My last question. Within the research of this program, are there any recommendations for the behavior consequences? Because sometimes we just get to that point.
Not within this program, as far as recommendations for behavioral consequences. No,
Okay.
it's a curriculum to help improve
Before we
behavior.
get
Right,
there.
so.
Another layer.
Madam President, and I just wanted, I was kind of wondering what the segue was going to be for this, and it's actually been provided by the group up here tonight. And it stills a little thunder from my report, but from the visits going out into the schools that I've been doing recently, it became abundantly clear, I mean, just, that we needed some help, and that our teachers needed some help. And so I go to Ms. Cole's office, and we sit down and we talk about it, and she says, I think I've got something. And we discussed it, and I don't want to say that we argued, but we might have had a disagreement over whether this needed to come tonight, and the sense of urgency and making sure that we had you guys informed. So there was a little bit of a delay in information getting to you, but as you can see, we went ahead and brought it because we do feel like we have an urgent need, that the 2 weeks, the 4 weeks, because we would have 2 weeks before a board meeting, so 2 weeks over Christmas plus 2 more weeks, that in that 4-week time frame, we could be 4 weeks down the line preparing for the resources for our staff. And that's why we went ahead and we brought it in tonight for your consideration. That's why it might not have hit some of the guidelines that we've assured y'all that we would meet on the timeliness of some of this. However, as you can see, listening to Mr. Clay, and he's got Ms. Price here as well, we do feel like this is a very, very good step in the right direction for us to provide the support for our teachers and our students as well. So,
Board, anything else? Mr. Clay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent job.
All right, board, may I have a motion to approve the adoption of the social emotional learning curriculum?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Edwards, second made by Ms. Kirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, now we have our reports. Mr. Luck?
Madam President, members of the board, I'm gonna start off with my superintendent's report on a couple updates here real quick. Did have the opportunity to attend the New Mexico School Boards Association Annual Conference in Albuquerque recently. That was my first trip to that particular meeting, and had an interesting opportunity to listen to some guest speakers, kind of connect with some of the superintendents around the state, watched a little bit of the procedures that were going on, and want to congratulate all of y'all again as members of the School Boards Association for the work that you guys put in for our district. Just a quick update on teacher visits at schools. Almost to the end of my visits, and it's interesting as the school year has progressed and the timing of the visits have changed from different parts of the year. The feedback that I'm getting from the teachers is a little different. I start with kind of giving them the information as to why I'm there and what I'm looking for, trying to put them at ease to let them know that, you know, we're here to help, and that we're looking for any kind of requests that they may have, and that ironically is where a lot of this came from. Ms. Cole and her group have put together a little mini triage team, and they're going out into the buildings and they're addressing our hot spots with some of our behaviors, and then that's morphed into where we are right now because it was abundantly clear that it was more of a systemic problem than it was just something that we could tackle right now and it was going to go away. We're working with some of the other suggestions that the staff has had. I mean, we've had anywhere from throw away the mask to give us, you know, every Wednesday afternoon off to, it's been interesting, some of the feedback that I've received. But some valuable information that we're already moving on. And my hope is that this is something that we can tie a success to as we go forward. We're coming up here to the end of the calendar year. And again, I want to just champion the fact that we have hit half a year. And like I said, that sounds kind of dumb to some people, but we are half a year further than where we were at this time last year. And the work that our teachers are putting in, our custodians, our support staff, I have written down here in my notes that I really wanted to make sure that I thanked our substitute teachers. What a job they've got right now. I mean, being a sub is never an easy thing, but right now, just having to navigate the COVID environment is really, really, it's tough. And it's really tough when you're not making that much. So I want to, again, commend our substitutes for that. Just a quick highlight of the events coming up over the holiday break. We've got a Pocorn tournament coming up. You have a Goddard High School Holiday Classic Girls Basketball Tournament. I know this particular Saturday, I think if you step out of your house, there's a sporting event somewhere on your block. There's basketball tournament. We've got an eighth grade tournament at 2 different locations. We've got wrestling going on at Roswell High. And that's the thing that I really, really want people to kind of focus on is it's so easy to get bogged down into the things that we maybe can't do. But look at all of the things that our kids are getting to do right now that we didn't get done last year. So I want to thank all of those involved with that. And, you know, I'm looking forward to January and whatever our new sense of normalcy comes out when we hit January. So thank you. Mr. Cole, financial updates, year-to-date expenditure report.
Thanks, sir. Superintendent Luck, Board President Morales, members of the board. You have here in front of you the general ledger report for all funds of the RISD as of November 30th, 2021. There are 52 funds budgeted. $180,338,373 total budgeted at this point in time, with some bars that are pending PED approval and some more bars that we're submitting tonight that you've graciously approved on our consent agenda. And with that, I'd entertain any questions.
Mr. Cole?
Sir.
I just want to say thank you for being a great bean counter and keeping this district out of the radar and just doing a good job for what you do.
Mr. Dolan, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank the school board enough, Ms. Kirk enough. I've watched you guys over the years work, and a lot of people don't understand. This is not a paid position. This is truly a labor of love. You guys get it. Mr. Luck laid it out perfectly. You can't go into Walmart without getting grabbed 2 or 3 times before you can get out the door. And nobody ever is bringing you praise. It's always problems. I should probably clarify that budget candy is a giant bottle of aspirin. Mr. Dolan gave that to me. I don't know, 10 years, was it 10 years ago?
It's got to be.
It's been a while. It's been a while. And, anywhere you go throughout the community, I know when you've worked with Roswell Rotary Club in their polio foundation. I know you've done fundraising for everyone under the sun. I know the battles you and Ms. Kirk have fought to keep us on the rails, to make my job possible, because there are plenty of people that don't see it that way, and don't respect laws and things like that. And I just can't thank both of you enough for all the support of the district and doing good things for kids and staff.
And I too want to thank you, Mr. Cole. I remember when you were hired as the Title I. You worked in Title I with the Title I funds, and I remember coming to you crying for more money for computers. My poor little Chisholm Elementary School. Help me, help me. So, and just working with you in your professionalism and your efficacy, you are probably, you have the highest, you're the most transparent, and you're the most respected in our state when it comes to CFOs. I hear that constantly when I'm in Albuquerque, when I'm among colleagues. So you have a great reputation of being very budget-friendly and very responsible. So
Come from a strong community and a great school district.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm going to move over to Mr. Hill and our Human Resources update.
Thank you. President Morales, Superintendent Luck, and members of the board. I just wanted to come to you for this month's meeting and just celebrate again the potential of the individual, whether we're talking about students or teachers who we're building up. That's really what we want to celebrate this month. And each of us plays a role in that, and I think it's really important that we recognize that we are developing the individuals that are part of our society, and it has been a testament with everything that we've heard tonight, just some of the wonderful things that we're doing. We have processed 32 new subs this month alone. Only 3 resignations, so it's great to see the exciting things happening. We are starting to have some recruiting fairs, some live recruiting fairs going on. We have had interest from people from other communities to come to Roswell to speak with our principals, to tour our schools. Just exciting about the wonderful buildings that we have and the technology, just the different resources. We do have the vacancies that we were talking about earlier. We do have 1 counselor position that is posted. Aside from that, we have just a multitude of some are group. For example, the sub pools are generally open, whether it is for subbing in the classrooms or custodians or nurses, busing, things of that nature. As far as certified positions, we have 21 elementary positions that are open right now. We have 30 in secondary, and we will be working closely with our schools to make sure that all of that is updated. This is constantly moving because we are processing new hires even as we speak. So there's always people in the works. We are very fortunate to be able to help individuals, again, reach that potential. When they come from outside of the educational field, there's numerous pathways that are available to them. And so we are very fortunate in Human Resources to be able to support that, to help them navigate those pathways, to hopefully get the right people in each of the positions and to help them develop. So we do have several job fairs that we're looking at already. The earliest one that we've received information on is February 3rd. And so we'll be sending that information out to our principals and see if we can't get some representation from our principals and teachers. We love to take teachers that were recruited from that university. We feel like they are some of our strongest people. So we'll be doing that as it comes
And where
along.
will that location be?
That first one that I mentioned is at UTEP, so in El
It's-
Paso, University
Oh,
of
you-
Utah,
oh, okay.
Texas at El
I'm sorry.
Paso.
Mhm.
And so we always research and see how many graduates are coming out of that school, what their areas of certification are. We also have access to their resumes. We pass that information along to the schools so that we can use that as a resource. But for us, we definitely have a strength in being able to be there in person. And so we're excited about those things and those opportunities that are coming up. Also in providing that support at whatever level you are at. Human Resources is the one that will support you, whether it's level advancement, getting additional skills, just getting information, helping with benefits. And so again, we are there to help improve and expand the repertoire of skills that our people have at all levels. So we're really proud to do that. We also have embraced opportunities for improvement within our department to improve the efficient and effective operations and the way that we conduct things. So we're really excited about lots of things that are going on. I know sometimes you don't see the things that are happening behind the scenes, but we truly are working on just working well for the district so that we can have those effective practices. Somebody mentioned something about some of the things that are challenges. Well, those are opportunities for improvement, and we embrace those at all of our different departments. And so it's exciting when we see something that causes us to kind of take a second look, because that's an opportunity for us to expand. And so exciting things happening. I do want to wish everyone a happy holiday. Again, we celebrate all of the individuals that make the Roswell schools what they are. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, the Roswell video that you all made, advertising the community, can you share that with us so that we can help share it as well?
We have several, but yes, we sure can. Would you like that for the next board meeting?
Yes, and we've seen it at the board meeting, like why work, 10 reasons to work in Roswell, but I would love to help share it with, my network and out and other,
Yes.
yeah.
So aside from
Ditto.
it being available on the website to send it out to you guys?
Yeah,
Yes,
just email
please,
it.
As
if you can.
individuals. That way they can share it on
Yeah.
their
The
social
link
media
for the
post.
video, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Trio, I have a question. You were talking about efficiency, so my question is, when an administrator makes a recommendation for a new hire, what's the turnaround time once they've made that recommendation? I know it differs on different positions and where they have everything, the candidate has everything in, but typically, what's the turnaround time?
Well, it's interesting that you would ask that, because out of our last legislative session, we had some legislation that came out that has changed our processes. And if you will recall, we came to you with several different policies that are changed as a direct result of that legislation. So now there's some additional steps that come with the background and that come with that, the fact-finding portion of it, pieces that have to go to former employers. So there's some changes that have happened. Much of it was in board policy, as you know, because we came to you as a board to accept that, but it's through the legislation. So it could be anywhere from, 10 days to, 30 days. It just kind of depends.
So how about-
Aside from the licensure that you mentioned, then we also have the background and that information that we have to.
So is it possible to, instead of offering them a contract, a letter of intent to assure them they have a position?
That is what we do, but again, we do have to go through, before we can actually hire, they have to clear. And again, based on the school board and the statute.
So
As a matter of
when,
fact, we've got some training coming up that we've, coordinated with Superintendent Luck because the hiring practices have changed so much through the legislation that we are required to train our administrators. We'll be having some trainings coming up for everyone in January to make sure that everybody understands the processes and that we're in compliance.
So when we go to the job fairs, it's not likely that they will be given a letter of intent on the spot?
We can still offer them the letter of intent, but again, all of that is contingent upon those
Okay,
stipulations.
so same thing with our candidates locally then?
Yes.
If we find someone, so we can offer them a letter of intent immediately?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
And so normally what we'll do is we can offer them the letter of intent. If we're at a university, then we know that they are an accredited institution. We know that they're going through, whether they're out of state or in-state, that they've already gone through the accrediting process. They've taken the test that they need at their state. And then New Mexico has had a change in reciprocity to where for a time they were accepting everything. Then for a time they were asking or requiring, not asking, requiring that those individuals that are coming from out of state pass some basic skills tests. Then we've kind of reverted back and forth. So it really depends on multiple factors, both from the licensing agent at the New Mexico PED, as well as, the things that are coming through with legislation.
Okay, it makes me a little happier because I know from my own recommendations, when I offered a candidate and that candidate slipped through the cracks because we didn't get a letter of intent or a contract to him, it's frustrating when you go through all that work and then you don't get the candidates. So if we can immediately at least offer, then that helps. That makes me feel better. Thank you.
And then going back to statute, for lack of a better word, with House Bill 128, they adopted what has been called in other areas the pass the trash law. And so it is a way of trying to ensure that we have those safety protocols so that the candidates that we are bringing on and that we are in such a rush to hire because we have such a need and we know that it is urgent to make sure that they are quality candidates, because as you know, then once they are employed, there's a whole other process that you have to go through.
Right.
When you do go through employee discipline and discharge, and we definitely would rather hire the best
On the front
candidates
end,
for
yeah.
our students
Yeah.
and
Do the work
that
on
can
the front
function
end.
well in our teams, than to have to go through that. But there's some navigation that we're having to do with all the changes, and it's a learning process. I mean, we learn something new every day.
Thank
We
you.
definitely hear that sense of urgency. I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Hill's being extremely nice right there. I don't want to say a roadblock, but the new policy is something that we're having to work on. And as far as the resources to go with it, there aren't any. And so we're creating a lot of this as we go. And our goal is to make sure that we own the fidelity of the process. But, like you just said, we're still looking for our candidates. So she's being very nice with that. I'll help her out on that one. Ms. Cole, curriculum and instruction updates, please.
Yes, sir. President Morales, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. I've given each of you a packet of all the exciting and wonderful things we're working on in our department, so I won't go through all of it. I do want to highlight a couple of pieces. So in the spirit of the resolution for literacy, I'll move to Ms. Steinhardt's department and just to thank you again for our ELA adoption. I was at Washington Avenue this afternoon. Principal was inventorying and distributing the new curriculum to her teachers. And so we have 3 cohorts of training happening for our teachers with implementation of the adoption. So we have Team Winter, Team Spring, and Team Summer. We also have My Perspectives training in high schools. We have a partnership with Savvis that has just been phenomenal. They have offered ongoing training and support. We actually have an in-person coach who is working in our high schools in the district, so we are certainly thankful for that partnership.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Before you move on, I wrote down that question, why do we have so much time between the professional development for the groups?
Well, Ms. Steinhardt spoke a little bit about this at our last board meeting, I think it was. So we have some schools that are just not in that readiness place for the training. And so she met with the principals and the teams, and this was at the request of the schools because they wanted to make sure that their teachers received the training in the spirit of learning. If that makes sense.
Yes,
You know,
it does.
sometimes when your plate is so
Absolutely.
full,
Mhm.
it's hard to take in that new learning, and
Yep.
so this was at their request.
So,
Kudos.
for my knowledge, implementation will start at some schools this school year and all schools next year because of the training?
So we have some that are starting now, Team Winter, and then Team Spring will be starting in the spring
So that means implementation
semester.
as well, though, not just training?
Training and implementation, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so by next school year, all schools?
We will have full implementation.
Good.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Remember, we made that commitment to the board when we purchased the program.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
You're very welcome. Our community schools, it's taken us a while to get to a great place with community schools, so we have that at Sierra. I would encourage you all to check in with them. There are so many weekend and after-school programs. We actually have implemented some support to families in need for food distribution, for behavioral health services, for health services, and so I just want to highlight that work that's being done. And as you know, the SEL work, so we would like to present our strategic plan for SEL January, February, whenever it's convenient, Mr. Luck, for you, if that's what you choose to do. And then lastly would be our college and career work. And so Mrs. Trujillo said it very nicely when she talked about opportunities for improvement, or OFIs. We call them OFIs. And so we found lots of OFIs over the course of the past year and a half. And our high school principals and Mr. Bolaños and our assistant principals and our counselors have just been working so hard. We started in, October, and then we came together in November, and then we had a check-in meeting just a couple of weeks ago. And so they have been given a very robust timeline of what to accomplish. And so they are all on target, and so they have been developing, looking at the student interest inventories, looking at their pathways, their available staff, aligning those with ENMUR. ENMUR has been a part of our meetings, and so we have some very exciting work for our schools and our students. We will include grading practices and recommendations, and so our teams would like, so that work will culminate January 18th, that week. So we won't have it ready for the January board meeting, but we would sure like to share what we're doing with you in February or March. So with that, I stand for any questions.
I have just one question, Ms. Cole, and please thank Dr. Lucero Carrillo, because I was gonna ask, well, the kiddos that dropped from virtual learning, where did they go? It's great to see a lot of them went
Came
back
back,
in person. My question is around the students that we dropped for non-attendance. What steps do we take after the fact to locate those students and check on their well-being, see where they're at?
After the fact, after they're dropped?
Once they're dropped for non-attendance, how do we?
We are not doing a whole lot. It's the before we drop them piece where the work goes in. So we're working to communicate with the families through letters, through parent meetings. That's all part of the Attendance for Success statute that we're required to do. And so our schools, Mr. Miramontes in particular, has gone above and beyond to try to communicate with the families and keep them in school.
Do we notify CYFD? Like, where do we pass along the information though? So is that a policy issue that we may need the
Could be.
policy committee to follow up on?
So CYFD will not take those reports
That's one of the
any longer.
changes.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to get creative in how we make sure these kids are just safe. I mean.
Yes, yes. And, I'm really excited about the work that our community partners are helping us with, CASA and La CASA. I actually had the opportunity to attend a couple of presentations earlier today. And so I've asked them to present to our counselors and social workers in January. I think that we've established January 10th as a time for La CASA is going to present. I think that this is a place where we ask for some assistance from those community partners and really think about a Keep Kids in School attendance campaign, and just some follow-up support from them, because they all have, these students have very unique situations, And I think it will take a community pulling together to get and keep them in school. And CASA is hosting a training with CYFD and several of our community agencies, RISD included, to address some of these kinds of issues.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
You're welcome.
Can I, Mrs. Cole, can I ask you a question? I know a lot of community members have asked if they will be able to have those ESL classes in their neighborhood schools, aside from, where is this one held at? At Sierra?
So we have one at Parkview, we have one at Sierra, we have one at Mesa.
Okay.
And I know that Roswell High is wanting to implement
Okay.
one. So, you know, we look at space and at cost. How do we support that with funding? And so we really want those neighborhoods where we have the classes available, we want to fill those to capacity to alleviate any funding concerns.
So the other parents from other buildings can attend to any of these? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good. All right, and Mr. Bewley, research assessment and accountability update, sir.
And other things, yes. President Morales, Superintendent Luck, members of the board, I want to wish you a joyous and restful holiday season because it's going to be fast and furious when we get back in January. First, I wanted to touch on the work of Ms. Nita Walker, the ESL, the bilingual department, multicultural department. We have had a lot of movement from the 40th day to the 80th day. We've added 98 EL students. When I first started, our population percentage of EL students in Roswell was about 9%. We're approaching 13% now. So it just highlights the importance of the parenting classes, the ESL classes, the multicultural programs, and the need for more. We have also been approved to have an enrichment model at our 4 elementary schools. PED has approved that: Pecos, Sunset, Nancy Lopez, and Missouri Avenue. And we really, really are anxious to make that 5 schools next year, working on that. But we're a bilingual state, and being fully bilingual presents you opportunities that other people don't have. And so we really want to put all those pieces in place to make that a pathway that students can follow. Speaking to the adult ESL classes, we've got it at Mesa Middle School with Ms. Del Angel, but I always want to say Del Angel, but I think she says it Del Angel. And then over at Sierra, which we didn't get to, Ms. Beatriz Valentin at Sierra, so it's on both ends of town there. And one group at Mesa is on Wednesday evenings and another one on Saturday mornings. And at Sierra, it's Monday and Tuesday evenings. And you can go to whatever school you want to. And so these are for the adult ESL classes. So we want to get to supporting the whole community, not just the students. And so we're pretty close to about 1,250 EL students that we're going to be assessing in January. So it is going to be pretty fast and furious. And I appreciate all the work that they've done in getting these kids assessed in a timely fashion. I also wanted to touch on Dr. Laura Lucero's work with the virtual students. She's very tired. Hope she's not listening. She's very tired of hearing about me checking on the students. On how are they doing? Are they logging in? Have you got the teachers there? Are we overloading them? And so I am also gratified to see them coming back to school. That's where we need them. And that's a really good segue, because I wanted to touch on what you had mentioned about Mr. Lyken's class and what a difference between being in class and not in class. And so I've asked Mr. Luck to carve me out some time for February, because I think we're really, really going to be gratified to see the results of students being in school with real teachers in real classrooms.
Absolutely.
And I think we can pull our virtual kids back in also when they see we're back to normal and we are moving.
Good.
And so I'm really anxious to put that together for the board in February. And I think we're going to be very pleased with our results. We're right now in the middle of our interim assessments, which is going to be our second point of data. So we've got iStation, iLit, iMasa, They're all with I's, I don't know why. But, so, I think Roswell is it's in large part to the support of the administration. We are way ahead of other districts as far as having data to use. And it's not just to take the assessment, just to take the test. It's so that we know where you're at and we can chart a course for you where we want you to be. And we can be very specific and strategic in targeting the students as to what it is that we need to teach you. So that was it for me, but I will stand for questions as well.
So I have a question,
Yes,
Mr. Bewley. Do you have any idea of how many parents we're targeting for the ESL classes?
It's open to all. We've done a lot of advertising. It's never going to be as many as we want in there, but.
Do you know the attendance
Right,
rate?
we do want them, it's growing, and so maybe we can follow that up, and we can see how that's grown over the months that it's been in place, and maybe we might do a survey, like a Survey Monkey, Spanish and English, so that they can show off their skills to answer those questions and tell us, how it's affecting them, or what would they feel that would be more effective.
How long has the classes been offered?
It's just been for a couple of months.
Oh, okay. So we just got a few going right now?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the one at Mesa has more individuals than the one at Sierra, and I think it was actually one that might have been started first. And I want to say it was like 9 or 12, something like that, and then maybe 3 to 6 at the other one, on any given day.
How have we advertised for it?
That's what I was going to ask.
Letters to the
Parents.
home, and of course
Through
on the
students to the
website, right?
Mm,
I think we can do more. I mean, we're doing more right now, discussing it within the board meeting, but I think we could do more as far as making it a bilingual communication, so that the people that really need that are able to see that.
Yeah.
And I'm open to ideas, and I know Ms. Nieto Walker has been also working very hard to make sure that it's public.
Do we have it on our website?
Yes, on the website.
Good.
Mr. Bewley, I think that if you were to give us, well, I could probably get the pamphlet from the website, but I think if we advertised on the radio, on the Spanish station, I'm
That's a good
pretty
idea
sure
right
that
there.
you could do it, or I can do it myself.
I think she's passed out pamphlets to church groups,
That's what I was
but
gonna
I
say,
think we
church.
could also do a little more with that if,
Do a
if-
PSA for
yeah,
yeah.
I'd be more than happy to, and I know Ms. Nita Walker would be more than happy to make an address there at any sort of gathering that we can, because we do want to involve the parents and also to improve their standing as well and their opportunities.
And also, we could probably start placing some of those advertisements at businesses all over town where we know our community is probably
Shops,
willing
yep.
to get those classes. We
Maybe
could start
the-
with El Charro.
Maybe the Chamber of Commerce can help us out there?
Well, and our local businesses that have worked with us in the past are super when we go out to ask them for that. You bet, put it right here. Thank you.
Nice.
So flyers.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
also have a new Spanish radio station that will be starting, I believe, next week. They've
Oh,
been in
really?
transition last week and this week.
Oh, cool.
I didn't know that.
They let us know
Is it,
at the
it's local
university.
here in Roswell? Wow.
And so when we had done our advertisements, if I may just share, we had really researched how to advertise and get the most out of radio, as well as, using our newspaper and the different mediums that we have. So we had a really hard time finding the Spanish station, so there will be, I can give you the contact person for that.
That's a good idea. Do we still have a Hispanic Chamber?
All right, and with that, I believe that concludes the superintendent's reports.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, for this next part, we will go for the board informational updates, acknowledgements. We did a lot of updates and acknowledgements tonight, but any others?
I just want to say thank you for allowing me, district, to serve you for 31 years and now 6.5 years. I want to congratulate all the staff. It takes a village to raise a child, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, am so appreciative of every teacher, every bus driver, every cafeteria worker, every administrator, district office. It's just been a glorious ride, and it won't be the end. Expect to see my face around in a different capacity, of course, but thank you all, and thank you, board members, for allowing me the opportunity to work with you because it has been great. Have a glorious Christmas holiday break and Happy New Year, and get some rest.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Sanchez, do you have something?
No.
So a couple items, I'm not gonna be here, so go back to May, graduation. A few times during graduation, I felt bad for the students because of the chaos. We had this chaos going on when I was on the board before, when everybody wanted to hand out diplomas. So someone would run up there to give their kid a diploma, and the next student walks up and there's no one there.
Yeah.
So when I was on the board before, we had a policy that only board members hand out diplomas because it's something, supposed to be something special, and it was a cluster. And I think you can all agree that we did not do honor to those students who stood there wondering who was gonna give them a diploma, or they just kept walking. Before I was on the board, I was an active parent, finance committee for a number of years, and one of the things that I've always brought up was we give the schools this money, and it happens every year that March 15th, they go into a spending frenzy to spend everything, and if they needed that money for the students, I just feel that they should space that out, because we see all these Amazon bills in May and June, because they're frenzy spending, so they don't lose their money to another school. I just think that part of a quarterly sit-down with the principals, hey, you've got your money, what are you using it on? Well, how are you investing in your kids' education? So it's always been one of those things that's irked me as a finance guy before on finance committees, then as a board member, you know, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars the last month and a half of school just so you don't lose it. You know, sometimes, well, I wanted to save it so I could marry it with this money for next year, but they're worried because they might lose it because someone else overspent. I've mentioned before, and you mentioned subs. You know, my starting pay is $12.50 an hour for a dishwasher. Nothing against them, but we only pay our subs 13 something an hour.
It's $120
Yeah.
an hour.
So we
Or $150 for certain.
So we don't pay them much. You know, we want great qualified, dedicated people to come in here and take care of watch our kids. When a certified staff is out, I think we need to invest in those people. Because we have permanent subs who work every day. You know, they don't make much more. So as we continue on with that, my last is for you, Hope. I've seen you really grow as a president. And I just wanted to tell you, you've done a really good job. Not that I would hold back what I was gonna tell you, but, because I don't sugarcoat anything for you. And if I give kudos, you've done a great job. And you've really grown as a board president, and I appreciate your leadership during my time here on the board.
Thank you, Melody.
That's it. Believe it or not.
That's it.
Anything, Ms. Sanchez?
No.
I have one more comment, I'm sorry. I do want to thank Juno for being here. Every board meeting, you have worked tirelessly. You're always out there in the community, and you do serve education well. Your article about the kids in the newspaper, the Goddard High kids, was phenomenal. And I think you do a fabulous job of coverage and doing the positive, as well as, we always see the sports, but I think you're out there getting the positive. It takes us giving you the information to cover. So it's, if you don't know about it, you can't cover it. So it takes us sharing that information. But I want to thank you. You've done a great job. And I truly appreciate, and I try every board meeting to come over and greet you and say welcome and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to give you information. So, thank you.
Can I say one thing? Yes. I know, talking about the literacy resolution, I just want to tell everybody to please read. A busy mind to keep dementia at bay.
And I don't have to remind staff, you have 3 more days until, and students, before your break. Thank you for what you do and for allowing us to serve. Board, it has been a total honor to serve alongside of you all, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of the Roswell Independent District will meet in executive session pursuant to NMSA Section 1015-1 regarding the following limited personnel matter: quarterly superintendent evaluation. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Sanchez and a second made by Ms. Kirk. Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion has carried to go into executive session where no action will be taken, and we will begin that at 8:14. Thank you. May I have a motion to end the executive session where no action was taken regarding NMSA Section 1015-1, limited personnel matter, quarterly superintendent evaluation, and return to the regular session?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Mr. Dolan and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, the motion carried to end the executive session where no action was taken and return to the regular session at 9:30 p.m. Okay. We now have a possible vote regarding the quarterly superintendent evaluation. I would like to make a motion that the board approve documentation to the superintendent outlining goals related to his quarterly feedback.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by myself and a second made by Ms. Kirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. This is the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I'm gonna give it to Milburn. Mr. Dolan and Ms. Sanchez, may I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Mona Kurt?
Yes.
Milburn Dolan?
Yes.